I wasn't her real mom, but I loved her like one. Her name was Sophie. She was 4 years old when I first met her. A tiny little girl with tangled curls and wide, wary eyes. She didn't speak much back then. She clung to her stuffed fox like it was her only lifeline. And honestly, maybe it was. Her mother had died a year before. Cancer. Quick, cruel, and without mercy. Her father, Nathan, was surviving, not living. And Sophie? She was the ghost of a child barely holding on. When I met Nathan, I didn't plan to fall in love with a man who carried so much grief. But love doesn't ask permission. And falling in love with him meant falling in love with Sophie, too. At first, she wouldn't let me touch her. She wouldn't look me in the eye. She wouldn't speak when I said good morning or respond when I read bedtime stories aloud in the living room just loud enough for her to hear. But I never pushed. I waited. Patiently, quietly. I cooked her meals. I washed her tiny socks. I left notes in her lunchbox with little hearts drawn next to her name. Have a great day, Sophie. I'm proud of you. You are so strong. Can't wait to read with you tonight. And then one day, she slipped her hand into mine while we were walking home from the park. She didn't say anything. She just held on. And in that moment, I felt like I'd been chosen. Not because I replaced her mother. I could never do that. But because I had slowly, gently earned her trust. She started calling me Emmy. Then one night during a thunderstorm, she climbed into bed with me, curled into my arms, and whispered, "Mommy Emmy, I missed you today." And I cried, silently. So she wouldn't notice because I had never wanted anything more in the world than for her to feel safe again. When Nathan and I got married a year later, Sophie was the flower girl. She wore a white dress with pink shoes and scattered petals like confetti. When the minister asked if I accepted Sophie as my daughter, I said yes before the sentence even finished. With all my heart, I said. Every piece of me. We weren't a perfect family, but we were a real one. We had movie nights and burnt popcorn. Sophie would sneak into our room at 2 a.m. with bad dreams and cold feet. I braided her hair every morning before school, even when I was late for work. She drew me little pictures and stuck them to the fridge with glittery magnets. And every time she said, "Mom," my heart squeezed like it couldn't quite believe this life was mine. I never adopted her legally. Nathan said there was no need. That love was more binding than paperwork. I believed him. I believed that what we built was unbreakable. But love, I would learn, can be rewritten by silence, by omission, by the quiet poison of influence. And I never saw it coming. I didn't notice the shift at first. Sophie turned 12, then 13. Puberty hit hard. She became quieter, sharper, less affectionate. I thought it was normal. Teenagers change. But then, she stopped calling me Mom, just Emmy. Then, nothing at all. One night, I brought her hot chocolate after she slammed her bedroom door. She took the mug, stared at it for a second, and said, "You don't have to try so hard. You're just the nanny anyway." The words didn't hit me at first. They hovered in the air, light, casual, like she was testing them, like she had heard them before. I opened my mouth to speak, to ask where she heard that, to remind her of every scraped knee I'd kissed, every nightmare I'd calmed, every fever I'd stayed up through. But she'd already turned away, closed the door, and left me standing there, holding a cup of cooling chocolate and a heart that felt suddenly, terrifyingly, replaceable. She used to call me Mama, until he told her not to. For days, I tried to forget what Sophie said. "You're just the nanny anyway." I tried to believe it was a teenager's rebellion, a phase, a bad day, but something about the way she said it, so calm, so rehearsed, clung to me. I didn't ask her about it right away. I didn't want to push. I told myself, she's growing, she's changing, it's normal. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed outside of her control. Then came the school event, parent-teacher night. I arrived early, as always. I signed in under Sophie's mom like I had every year. It never felt like a title. It felt like a truth. But this time, when I walked into the classroom, Sophie glanced at me and then turned to her teacher and said, "That's just Emmy. And my dad's wife." The words were sharp, effortless, detached. I laughed, a upset, nervous sound that didn't reach my eyes. Sophie, what are you talking about? She didn't even look at me. You don't have to pretend anymore, it's fine. I stood frozen. Teachers shifted awkwardly. Someone cleared their throat. Nathan arrived a few minutes later. I expected him to comfort me, to tell Sophie that wasn't okay, to pull her aside and ask what was going on. But he didn't. He acted like nothing happened. That night, I confronted him. Nathan, did you hear what Sophie said tonight? She's a teenager, hormonal, let it go. She called me just your wife, not her mom, not even Emmy. He shrugged. Maybe it's for the best. You're not her biological mother, Emmy. Maybe we got carried away with the labels. My heart cracked. You said papers didn't matter. That love was enough. He didn't look at me, didn't deny it, didn't defend me. Just said, kids need clarity. The next morning, Sophie barely acknowledged me. No good morning, no eye contact. She wore the sweater I bought her for Christmas last year, the one she cried over when she opened it. Now, it hung on her like a uniform of forgetting. I waited until she left for school. Then I opened Nathan's laptop. I knew his password, he never changed it. He said there was nothing to hide, but there was always something. Emails, to a therapist, to Sophie's old pediatrician, to his sister. We're working on helping Sophie accept that Emmy isn't her real parent. She's confused about roles. I think I let Emmy get too close too soon. I want to gradually bring Sophie back to a more stable understanding of family. One where she sees Emmy as a support, not a parent. Support, not a parent. I felt sick because I wasn't losing Sophie by accident. I was being erased, deliberately, strategically. Nathan didn't want a partner. He wanted help, a caregiver, a placeholder. He let me braid her hair, kiss her forehead, soothe her sobs, but not belong. I scrolled further, found a draft of a message he never sent. To Sophie. Your mom would want you to be careful with who you call mom. Emmy has a kind heart, but she's not your real family. Not your real family. After years of bedtime stories, after flu seasons and broken teeth and dance recitals, after lullabies and birthday cakes and scraped knees, he poisoned her quietly. Not with cruelty, but with doubt. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the kitchen staring at the family photos on the fridge. One by one, I pulled them down. Not out of anger, out of mourning, because someone had died in this house. And it was me. I found the hidden messages, and my heart shattered. The silence in the house that night was unbearable. Sophie was upstairs, headphones on. Nathan was downstairs, pretending to read. And I was in the laundry room, suffocating in my own house. I needed answers. Not assumptions, not excuses. Evidence. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened Sophie's old tablet, the one she'd used before she got her phone. The one still linked to our cloud account. The one I bought for her 8th birthday, wrapped in pink foil and love. I knew I shouldn't. That it was private, that I was crossing a line. But the lines had already been crossed. Just not by me. The messages were still there. Text chains with Nathan. Going back over a year. And what I read broke me. Nathan, I know you miss your mom, baby. Emmy's nice, but she's not her. Sophie, I know. Nathan, it's okay to keep some parts of your real family sacred. Don't let anyone replace what you had. Nathan, Emmy means well, but she doesn't always understand you the way mom did. She's still learning. Sophie, sometimes she tries too hard. Nathan, I see that too. Let's just keep things simple. Just call her Emmy from now on, okay? Nathan, you don't owe anyone the word mom. Not unless it feels right. And if it doesn't anymore, that's okay. Sophie, she gets sad when I stop calling her that. Nathan, she'll be fine. She knows her place. Her place. Her place? Was that all I had been? A stand-in? A placeholder? A convenience to soothe his child until she was old enough to no longer need me? I kept reading, and the further I went, the colder I became. Because the erosion hadn't been accidental. It had been guided, step by step, one seed of doubt at a time. Even worse, Sophie had been encouraged to rewrite her own memories. Nathan, when you were little, you were just confused. You thought Emmy was your mom because you were hurting, but now you're older. You know better. I wasn't just being erased. I was being reclassified. All the years of bedtime stories, all the nights holding her through fevers, the dance recitals, the scraped knees, the whispered, I love yous, rewritten as confusion, as a mistake, as something that shouldn't have happened. My hands trembled as I set the tablet down. I couldn't cry, not yet. I felt hollow, not because Sophie had changed, but because someone made her believe that loving me was wrong. Later that night, I sat in the living room while Nathan made tea. He passed me a mug like nothing was broken. "You okay?" he asked. I looked at him. Really looked at him. "You told her not to call me Mom." He blinked. "She made that decision." "No," I whispered. "You did. You planted that in her. You turned my love into something she had to second guess." He didn't deny it. He just sipped his tea and said, "It was always going to happen eventually." I left the mug on the table, went upstairs, and for the first time since Sophie entered my life, I didn't kiss her goodnight. Not because I loved her less, but because I was learning the difference between being a mother and being allowed to be one. She called me just the nanny. And my husband said nothing. It was a Sunday afternoon. Bright skies, laughter in the backyard, a small family BBQ Nathan insisted on hosting. "Just a few people," he said. "Friends, neighbors, let's show everyone how well we're doing." I had been dreading it, but I smiled like always. Prepared the food, set the table, braided Sophie's hair like she hadn't spent all week ignoring me. The guests arrived. Smiles, hugs, chatter. Sophie was the perfect hostess, laughing with neighbors, helping hand out lemonade, even complimenting Mrs. Beasley's dog. I stood on the patio watching her speak like a young lady I barely recognized. Then came the moment. One of the new neighbors, a kind woman named Amanda, turned to Sophie with a warm smile. "You're lucky to have such a sweet mom. She's been talking about you all morning." Sophie didn't hesitate, didn't even blink. "Oh, she's not my mom, she's just the nanny." The world stopped. For a split second, the backyard went silent. Like time paused just long enough for those words to pierce through every part of me. "She's just the nanny." Amanda laughed nervously, glancing at me. "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought—" I forced a smile. "No worries." Inside, I was screaming. I looked at Nathan. He was holding a drink mid-conversation. He heard it. I saw his eyes flicker. And then, he said nothing. He didn't correct her. Didn't laugh it off, didn't even glance at me with understanding. He just kept talking to the neighbor next to him like nothing happened. I excused myself, went inside, closed the bathroom door, and broke. The woman in the mirror looked nothing like the person who used to sing lullabies and cut apple slices into stars. She looked like someone who had been slowly erased, until even the people she loved couldn't remember who she was anymore. I sat on the edge of the tub, phone in hand, shaking. I didn't call anyone. I just scrolled through old photos. Sophie at 6, missing a tooth, arms around my neck. Sophie at 8, asleep on my lap after a nightmare. Sophie at 10, making a birthday card that said, "To the best mom in the world." When did it change? When did I stop being mom? When did I become a title so cold it didn't even fit in my own home? Later, after the guests left, I stood in the kitchen scrubbing a dish that was already clean. Nathan walked in. "Everything went well, don't you think?" I turned slowly. "Did you hear what she said?" He didn't flinch. "She's just expressing her truth. Don't take it personally." "I am taking it personally. I raised her. I gave everything, so—" "You supported her, and we appreciate it." Supported. Not raised, not loved, not mothered. Supported. Like I was a pillar in a house I didn't own. "You didn't even defend me," I whispered, "because I didn't want to make it a scene." He said, "You didn't want to make it a scene?" "She erased me. In front of everyone. And you let it happen." He looked down at the counter. "Maybe it's easier this way." Less confusion for her. I stepped back, like his words were a weapon. Because maybe, deep down, that was the truth he always believed. That night, I sat on the floor of Sophie's room. She was out with friends. Nathan was in the office. I held one of her old drawings, a crayon version of me holding her hand under a rainbow. It said in blocky letters, "Me and Mommy Emmy forever." But forever is fragile, especially when the people you love rewrite it without you. I was erased from the family photos. I should have known something was off when Sophie refused to take our annual family Christmas photo. She used to love it. She'd plan her outfit weeks in advance, match her scarf with mine. Insist that I stand in the middle because that's where moms go. But this year, she stood to the side, didn't smile. And when I gently placed my hand on her shoulder, she subtly stepped away. The final photo felt off. I looked at it on my phone that night. Me, trying too hard to smile. Nathan holding a mug. Sophie, arms crossed, distant. It didn't feel like a family photo. It felt like a picture with someone accidentally in it. Me. I should have let it go. But 2 days later, I was scrolling on social media and saw Sophie's post. Family time, #Eustace. A new photo. A different photo. Just her and Nathan. In front of the same Christmas tree, same night, same sweaters. But I wasn't in it. I went back to the album on Nathan's computer. Clicked through the photos we took that day. That's when I noticed I wasn't in any of them anymore. Even the original ones I remembered. Where I stood beside Sophie, where she leaned into me, where I kissed her cheek. Gone. Replaced. Cropped, reframed, erased. And then I saw the folder, titled Us, 23. I clicked it open. Dozens of images of just the two of them, Nathan and Sophie, laughing, cooking, decorating. Family captions like, father-daughter bond, our little team. Holiday joy with the two of us. 2, not 3. I scrolled and scrolled, looking for just one photo of me. There was none. I closed the laptop with shaking hands, sat in the dark dining room, and for the first time I asked myself something terrifying. Am I still part of this family, or was I just a phase? When Nathan came home later that night, I confronted him. Why did you delete the photos? He looked at me like I was overreacting. I didn't delete anything, I just kept the ones Sophie wanted. So she gets to erase me now? She gets to rewrite who's in this family? He sighed. She's been going through a lot. She's trying to reconnect with her roots. And I'm what? A bad memory? You're not her real mother, Emmy. She's allowed to want something that feels more natural, not her real mother. Again, like I needed the reminder. You let her replace me, I whispered. And you helped. He didn't deny it, didn't apologize, just said, it's easier this way. I went upstairs, opened my drawer, pulled out the first crayon drawing she ever gave me, a stick figure of me with a huge smile holding her hand. Above it, written in red marker, me and Mommy Emmy, forever team. Forever doesn't mean much when the people you love decide they're better off without you in the frame. He said, she'll never love you. You're not her blood. The house was colder after that night, not because of the weather, but because of the way they looked at me. Or didn't. Sophie barely spoke. Nathan went through the motions. Good morning. Dinner's ready. I'll be late. But never once looked me in the eyes. I had become invisible, and maybe I could have endured that. Maybe I could have stayed quiet, if not for the night I heard them talking. In the kitchen. I was walking down the stairs when I heard Sophie say, why does she still try so hard? Can't she tell it's weird? Then Nathan's voice, low, calm like he was explaining the weather. She's always been like that. She means well, but you don't owe her anything. She's not your blood, sweetheart. She'll never really be your mom. I froze on the staircase. My hand gripped the railing so tight my knuckles turned white. My legs wanted to collapse beneath me. She's not your blood. She'll never really be your mom. It was worse than every silent dinner. Worse than being cropped from photos. Worse than being called just the nanny. Because this time, he didn't just erase me. He invalidated everything I had ever given. I went back upstairs, locked myself in the bathroom, and cried the kind of cry that has no sound. Just heaving, just brokenness, just the kind of pain you feel in your bones. I looked at myself in the mirror. The woman who kissed scraped knees, who sang lullabies through fevers, who stayed up for every school project, who spent Christmases wrapping gifts labeled Love Mom. And I asked myself, if I wasn't her mother, then who the hell have I been all these years? I didn't sleep that night. I laid in bed wide awake while Nathan snored beside me like he hadn't destroyed me 6 hours earlier. The next morning, I packed a small bag. Just clothes, a journal, toothbrush. I didn't plan to leave forever. I just needed to breathe. I wrote a note, not for Nathan, not for Sophie, for myself. You are not lesser because you are not blood. You are love. You are memory. You are the woman who showed up. Even when they stopped seeing you, I drove to a small cabin 2 hours outside the city, a place with no Wi-Fi, no noise, and for the first time in years, I didn't make breakfast. Didn't worry about dinner, didn't check homework. I sat in the silence and let myself feel everything. The grief, the betrayal, the loss of a child who was still alive, still in the same house, but had been taught to forget me. A few days later, Nathan texted, "Are you done sulking?" And just like that, I knew I wasn't going back to be his anything. Not his cook, not his help, and certainly not his support system. But then came something I didn't expect. A letter, folded in a pink envelope, no return address. I opened it slowly. It was from Sophie. I don't know if you'll even read this, but I miss your pancakes. I miss how you used to read to me in silly voices. I still have that fox you gave me. I sleep with it when no one's watching. I don't know why I called you the nanny. I don't know why I stopped calling you mom. But when you left, the house got too quiet. Tears blurred the page. And at the bottom, in small handwriting, I think I want to remember again. I left the house I built and no one stopped me. I returned to the house after a week away, not because I missed it, but because I needed to end it properly. To leave, not in chaos, but with clarity. I didn't slam the door, I didn't scream. I walked through the front hallway slowly, like a guest visiting a place they used to call home. And in some way, Nathan was in the kitchen. He looked up. "You're back." His tone wasn't warm, not cruel either, just flat, like I was an appointment that showed up again. "I came to get my things," I said. He didn't ask what things, didn't ask if I was okay, didn't say he missed me, just went back to scrolling his phone. Sophie wasn't home. Probably at school, but her letter was still folded in my purse. I'd read it 10 times, each word digging into me, painful, but healing. A child reaching through the fog of manipulation, trying to find the woman who once kissed her forehead every night. I moved through the house quietly, room by room. The kitchen where I used to cook pancakes in the shape of hearts. The hallway where Sophie's first height was measured in pencil on the wall. The living room where I wrapped her in blankets after her first heartbreak. Memories everywhere, but no space for me left inside them. In the bedroom, I packed my suitcase, 2 dresses, a journal, a small music box Sophie had given me when she was 7. It played a lullaby, one I used to hum when she had night terrors. As I zipped the bag, Nathan appeared at the door. "So this is it?" I looked at him, really looked. The man who had once held me like I was air, now couldn't even hold eye contact. "You made it a long time ago," I said quietly. "You're walking away from Sophie." That made me freeze, but only for a moment. "No," I replied, "that you walked her away from me, one sentence at a time." He opened his mouth to respond, but said nothing, like always. I walked down the stairs. He didn't follow. Didn't plead, didn't apologize, didn't stop me. The final sting wasn't his silence. It was how easy it was for him to let me go. Outside, the air felt different. Not colder, not warmer, lighter. I didn't know where I'd sleep that night. Maybe a friend's couch, maybe a rented studio, maybe just in the car with the windows rolled down. But for the first time in years, I wasn't trying to prove I belonged, I was just being. That evening, as the sun dipped below the rooftops, I received a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of the fox plush I'd given Sophie when she was little. Next to it, a note written in uneven handwriting. "I still sleep with this. Please don't disappear forever." Underneath that, another message. "If I remember, will you come back?" I sat in my car, tears falling silently, and whispered, "Yes, but not like before." Next time I come back as me. She showed up at my door. Years later, holding a letter. 3 years had passed. 3 full years since I left that house. Since I packed the pieces of myself and walked away from a life I had built with bare hands and open heart. I live simply now. A small home outside the city. Lots of books, quiet mornings, a garden I talk to like old friends. No more cold dinners, no more unanswered stares. Just healing. I rarely thought of Nathan. He never reached out, didn't try to find me. I supposed it was easier that way for him. But Sophie? She was the thought I tucked away like a folded memory. Too fragile to unfold too often. Until that day, it was autumn. Leaves burning orange across the yard. I was steeping tea when the knock came. Soft, hesitant. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door, and time stopped. There she was. Sophie. Taller, older, but still her. The curls, the hesitant eyes. And in her trembling hands, a letter. She didn't say anything at first. Neither did I. We just looked at each other. Me, frozen in the doorway. Her, with a storm in her eyes. Then, finally, "Hi," my voice cracked. "Hi, sweetheart." A beat of silence. Then she held out the letter. "I wrote this a long time ago. I never sent it. I didn't know if I had the right, but I couldn't throw it away either." I took it with both hands. The envelope had creases, water stains. It had been held, maybe cried on, many times. I gestured inside. "Would you like to come in?" She nodded. Barely. But she stepped through. We sat across from each other in the quiet kitchen. The tea steamed between us. Her hands fidgeted. Tom made you tremble. Then I opened the letter. "Dear Emmy, I don't know where to start. Maybe with 'I'm sorry, but that doesn't feel big enough.' When I called you the nanny, I didn't understand what I was doing. I was angry, confused. I thought if I pushed you away, it would make it easier. But it only made everything worse. Dad said things that made me question what we were. He never said it directly, just enough to make me wonder if you loved me because you had to, or because you wanted to. Now I know. You were the only one who showed up every day, even when I tried to hurt you, even when I erased you. I see now what love really looks like. And it looked like you. I've missed you every day since you left. Love, Sophie." Tears streamed down my face before I finished. I looked up, and Sophie was crying too. "I didn't know how to find you," she whispered, but I never stopped hoping I would. I reached across the table, took her hand. "I never stopped loving you," I said. "Do you still think of me as your daughter?" she asked. My heart cracked wide open. "I never stopped, even when you forgot. Even when I had to let go," she sobbed. Not like a woman. Like the little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms and whisper, "Don't leave me." And now here she was, whispering again. "Can we try again?" I held her tighter. "Yes, as slow as you need, as real as it gets." We spent hours that day talking, catching up, laughing, crying. She stayed the night, slept in the guest room. But before closing the door, she looked at me and said, "Good night, Mom." And this time, no one told her not to. The truth, he hid from both of us. Sophie stayed for the weekend. The second night, we cooked together, laughed over burnt pasta, watched an old movie we used to love when she was 10. And for the first time in years, I felt like something was being rebuilt. Slow, delicate, but real. But late that Sunday evening, as she packed her things to head back to the city, she paused in the doorway and said, "There's something that's been bothering me." "What is it?" She bit her lip. "After you left, I found a box in Dad's office. It had old files, papers. At first, I thought it was just taxes or something." I stayed quiet. "But there was this one envelope. It had your name on it." My heart dropped. "What kind of papers?" She pulled out her phone, swiped, then handed it to me. A photo, a printed legal document, a finalized adoption request. Signed by me, dated 5 years ago. Approved, filed. I stared at it. This went through?" She nodded. "You adopted me. Legally, I'm yours." My breath caught. I remembered filing it with Nathan. I remembered the appointments, the court date, the paperwork. But Nathan had told me, weeks later, there were some issues. The judge didn't move it forward, something about parental history. I had believed him, trusted him, and then let it go. "He told me it never happened," I whispered. "That's what he told me too," Sophie said. "But the documents say otherwise." She opened her bag, pulled out a folder. Inside, original copies, signed, stamped. I flipped through them, hands shaking. This would have made everything different. "Exactly," Sophie said. "You weren't just raising me. You were my mom, and he hid it." I felt the ground shift beneath me. Not from rage, but from betrayal. A betrayal deeper than rejection, deeper than silence. Nathan hadn't just pushed me aside. He had deliberately erased a legal truth to maintain control, to keep Sophie emotionally tethered to only him. "Why?" I asked aloud, more to myself than to her. "Because he was scared," Sophie said quietly. "Of losing me to you." The truth hit like lightning. Nathan never planned to let me fully in. He let me love, let me parent, let me hope. But when the papers were approved, when I officially became mom by law, not just love, he hid it. Because the moment I had legal rights, he would lose the power to turn Sophie against me. "You didn't fail me," she said suddenly. "You were never just the nanny. You were always my mom." He just didn't want me to see it. Tears blurred my vision. I held her tight. Not like something precious I might lose again, but like something that was finally fully mine. That night, Sophie didn't leave. She stayed. We made cocoa, sat by the window, and for the first time she said, "Can I call you Mom again?" I smiled through tears. You never had to stop. I wasn't her mother by blood, but I was her home. The morning after Sophie gave me the adoption papers, I found her curled up on the couch, asleep. The fox plush I'd given her years ago was in her arms. I stood there for a moment, watching her chest rise and fall, remembering all the nights she'd fallen asleep like that beside me when she was too scared to sleep alone. And it hit me. We'd come full circle. Later that day, we went for a walk. Leaves crunched beneath our feet. The air was crisp, but the silence between us was warm. "I feel like I owe you years," she said quietly. "You don't owe me anything," I replied. "You were a child. You were guided by someone who should have protected the bond we had, not break it." She stopped walking. "I don't know how to forgive myself. I hurt you so much." I turned to face her. "Sophie, love isn't measured by what we get right the first time. It's measured by whether we choose to try again. And you're here. That's all that matters now." We walked in silence after that, but it wasn't heavy anymore. It was the kind of silence that heals. A few days later, she made a request. "Can we go back to the house just for closure?" I hesitated, but I saw it in her eyes. She needed this, so we went. The front door was the same, but the energy, different. Colder, emptier. Nathan opened the door, surprised. His face went pale seeing us standing together. "What's this?" he asked. Sophie stepped forward. "Closure," she said. "I came to tell you I know everything." She pulled out the papers, laid them on the table. His face shifted. Panic and then anger, then shame. "You don't understand," he started. "No," she cut him off. "You don't. You stole years from me. You made me doubt the only person who ever stayed." He tried to speak again, but Sophie held her hand up. "I'm not here for you to explain. I'm here to say goodbye." Then she turned to me. "Can we go now, Mom?" That word. So simple, so natural, so real. I nodded, tears in my eyes. And we left. No drama, no shouting, just closure. Back home, we lit a candle. Sophie placed her letter, the one she had written years ago, next to it. "For the girl I used to be," she whispered. "And for the woman you always were." We created new memories after that. Weekend visits became weekly dinners. Calls turned into daily messages. She started sending me pictures of her life again. School, friends, books she loved. And on my birthday that year, she gave me a handmade frame. Inside it, a photo from years ago. Her hugging me tight in the kitchen, both of us smiling. And written at the bottom, not by blood, but by choice, and always by love. I placed the frame on my nightstand, next to the music box, next to the fox plush, next to the life I had once thought was lost, but was only waiting to find its way back home. Some people think motherhood is born in labor rooms, in bloodlines, in DNA. But I learned the truth. Motherhood is in the meals made with love, in the nightlights left on, in the stories read 1,000 times, in the arms that never stopped reaching, even when they were pushed away. I wasn't her mother by blood, but I was her home. And now, finally, she had come back to me. Some people leave scars, others leave lessons. Burn and reborn stories that break you, then rebuild you.